In 2032, Earth is falling apart. Food is scarce, clean water is rationed, and the environment is collapsing. In London, a state of emergency barely helps. The poor are desperate, the middle class is breaking, and people rage at wealthy companies that seem to have endless resources. Peter Lee is a church chaplain trying to help people survive, but his own life is collapsing too. His wife, Bee, is dying. He sits beside her, trying to stay steady as she reaches the end. Bee tells him not to fall apart. She believes Peter still has a purpose. Soon after, Bee is gone, and Peter is left with grief he can barely carry. Days later, Peter throws himself into charity work, handing out food. That's when Vivian approaches him. She says she's head of mission resources for a corporation involved in off-world expansion. Peter hears the company name and tries to walk away. He knows what they represent: rich elites building escape routes while everyone else suffers. Vivian stops him. She was sent by David Morgan, a top leader, and someone Peter knows personally. Vivian tells him why she's there. Morgan wants Peter on Project Oasis, the first permanent human colony on a desert planet. To Peter, it sounds like the same selfish plan he and Bee criticized for years, an exit strategy for the 1% while Earth dies behind them. So why him? Vivian shows a transmission recorded by Morgan from the colony world itself. Morgan looks exhausted and unsettled. He admits Peter was right to doubt the project's true intentions. He says the mission isn't just about a new home. It connects to something far bigger, something he didn't understand until he arrived. And because of what's happening out there, they need a spiritual voice on the colony. Not a scientist, not a politician, a chaplain. Morgan says there's only one person he trusts for that job: Peter. Peter refuses at first. Vivian adds an offer. If he agrees, the company will fund Peter's church, letting his organization keep feeding and supporting the suffering people of London. Turning it down could mean turning down help for thousands. After a long struggle, Peter accepts. Peter is taken to the departure facility and prepared for space travel. On the way, his private transport is attacked by furious civilians who hate corporations spending on off-world projects while Earth starves. Peter survives, but it proves society is cracking. At the facility, doctors put him through testing. Most of it feels like medical screening, until psychological tests start, including a word association session that uses a recorded message from Bee. Peter is shaken and demands to know how they got something so personal. Nobody gives him a clear answer, and the mission starts to feel wrong. Right before launch, Peter meets the other crew. One is Cy, a botanist, and Peter quickly connects with him. They're told the journey is too long and dangerous to stay awake for, so they'll be placed into an induced coma to protect their bodies and preserve muscle tissue. The spacecraft launches. Inside, Peter stares at Bee's photo and slips into sleep, reliving her moments. What feels like an instant later, the crew is awakened on Oasis in the middle of a sandstorm. Masked workers and rover teams guide the disoriented newcomers out of the ship and toward the colony. Crossing the settlement, Peter sees graves outside the base. People have already been dying here. Inside, a worker named Paul hands out energy drinks to stabilize the arrivals. Security officer Sarah Keller checks the crew list and stops at Peter's name, confused like someone made a mistake. Peter explains he's a chaplain and was personally requested by David Morgan. That name changes everything. Sarah exchanges a tense look with BG, a crew member, then rushes off to speak with Vikram, the colony's chief executive. Peter's welcome stays rough. With limited water, he isn't allowed a real shower. They clean him with a blue foam wash. During it, Sarah searches his belongings and finds what she expected, but doesn't like: a Bible. All new arrivals are brought to Dr. Severin. She injects medication to help their bodies adjust to the planet's oxygen mix, implants a tracking device in their arms, and makes it clear the company wants their location at all times. Then she warns about side effects: vision problems, headaches, even hallucinations from pressure and atmosphere changes. At dinner, the newcomers learn the food is awful, barely better than prison rations. Sarah tells Vikram Peter seems legitimate, but Vikram still doesn't like having a religious man in his colony. Vikram gives a welcome speech about building humanity's future. BG mutters that this place is closer to a nightmare than a dream. Vikram finishes by calling Peter out and asking him to speak. The room goes tense. No one expected a chaplain on a hard labor colony. Peter keeps it simple. He praises the workers for living far from their families to build something bigger than themselves, and promises that if anyone needs someone to listen, he's there. It doesn't make everyone religious, but it earns respect. Later, BG escorts Peter to a tiny room and gives him sleep medication. BG warns that falling behind on sleep comes with consequences, but won't explain. Before he leaves, Peter asks, "Where is David Morgan?" BG points toward the endless desert. Morgan is out there somewhere, missing from contact for about a week. That night, Sarah records a message to her daughter Frida, showing how isolated this life is. Peter logs into his computer and receives a message from an unknown sender with a single Bible line. "What I tell you in the dark, speak in the light." By morning, the storm clears. Peter steps outside and finally sees Oasis. Desert ground, heavy skies, multiple moons overhead, and the graves still sitting nearby like a warning. He meets Alice Reyes. Alice says drones watch everything, and nobody can truly escape. When Peter asks about Morgan again, she avoids answering and hints Peter was never brought here to build anything. BG arrives and says Vikram wants to see Peter immediately. As Peter walks away, Alice quietly asks BG why they would send a chaplain here. BG answers with one word: funerals. On the way to Vikram's office, Peter passes a locked room and hears voices. Two men are searching someone's belongings under Vikram's orders. They say Morgan has been acting unstable, possibly losing his mind. Peter looks closer and freezes. The same Bible message from his computer is written on the wall. Before he can process it, the men spot him and slam the door shut. Peter understands what he's standing outside of. This is David Morgan's room. And whatever is happening on Oasis, Morgan didn't vanish for no reason. Peter gets called into Vikram's office, and the mood is tense. Vikram doesn't pretend to be friendly. He demands to know what David Morgan said that made Peter agree to come. Peter keeps it short. Morgan asked for a man of God at the Colony. Then Peter asks the real question: where is Morgan right now? Vikram tries to brush it off, saying Morgan went out exploring. Peter doesn't buy it. He admits he knows Morgan's room is being searched behind closed doors. Cornered, Vikram gives the truth. Morgan has been missing for over a week, and nobody has heard from him. While they talk, Sarah Keller runs through the dunes. The storm is gone, but the planet feels empty. Then she hears a voice, her daughter Freda calling, "Mommy." Sarah knows it can't be real, but it sounds so close that she follows it. She finds Morgan's rover, abandoned and half buried in sand. A blood stain is smeared across the windshield, like someone slammed into it or tried to crawl away. Morgan's bag is still inside with supplies. Shaken, Sarah brings everything back to base. When she shows Vikram, it gets worse. In Morgan's belongings are a large box of medicine, enough to treat a whole crew, a card full of odd drawings and scribbles, multiple postcards with religious-style artwork, and a blood sample tube. Sarah argues they should send a search team immediately. Vikram refuses. He says Morgan cut his own tracker out, meaning he didn't want to be found. Searching the desert would waste time and resources. Vikram suggests they assume Morgan is dead and announces drilling restarts in the morning to find underground water. Sarah snaps back. Her job is safety. She can't accept leaving a missing man out there. Vikram shuts her down by throwing her past in her face. On Earth, she was a detective who lost her career because she didn't follow orders. He warns her not to repeat that mistake here. After Sarah leaves, Vikram does something uglier. He uses security cameras to keep track of Peter. Peter tries to focus on his work, but everything feels controlled. A drone tails him everywhere. He's assigned a media room, but it's filthy and disorganized, and no one helps him. It feels less like an invitation, more like being dumped in a corner. That night, Paul Howren comes to Peter quietly. He doesn't want rules. He needs someone to listen. Paul tells a story. He loved horses, bought a young one, and dreamed of racing. Before a big race, he paid a shady vet for performance drugs. The horse ran hard, then collapsed in agony. Paul says the animal suffered terribly, and that memory still eats him alive. Peter tries to guide him gently, saying guilt can destroy you if you never forgive yourself, but Paul cuts him off. Paul claims he's seen the horse here on this planet, not once, repeatedly, and Paul isn't the only one. He says people are seeing things. Some call them hallucinations, but Paul insists it feels real. 3 workers have already died after getting distracted by what they saw and stepping into fatal accidents. Peter asks what Morgan thought about this. Paul's eyes flick to the security camera. He won't say Morgan's name out loud. He tells Peter to ask Sarah, because she investigated the deaths. Later, Peter slips into Sarah's office and searches Morgan's recovered items. The blood tube, the religious postcards, and signs Morgan's mind may have been spiraling. Sarah catches him and tears into him, but Peter presses her about Morgan, the deaths, and what's happening on Oasis. Sarah stays guarded. She says the deaths were accidents, and the visions are medical side effects, pressure on the optic nerve, atmosphere issues, what Dr. Severin warned about. But Peter can feel she's holding something back. Sarah changes tactics and pulls up Peter's criminal history. Peter doesn't deny it. He admits he used to be someone else, until meeting B changed him and pushed him toward faith. Instead of humiliating him, it makes Sarah hesitate. That same night, fear spreads. BG can't sleep because he keeps seeing his father outside his window. Exhausted, he goes to Dr. Severin begging for something stronger, and even asks to stay in her room so he isn't alone with what he's seeing. The next morning, Vikram restarts drilling to reach underground water. Paul is put in charge. At first it looks normal, until Paul freezes. He sees the horse again, right in front of him. Paul steps closer like he's hypnotized, forgets the screaming machinery, and reaches out to touch what he believes is real. He gets too close. In one brutal moment, the drill tears into him and leaves him horribly wounded. Workers rush Paul to Dr. Severin, but the damage is massive. He fades fast, still mumbling about the horse, still convinced he saw it. Peter stays beside him, holding his hand and praying as Paul slips away. Paul dies, and the base feels colder afterward. When Sarah hears, she doesn't argue anymore. She curses, storms out, and looks like someone finally seeing the truth. Whatever is causing these visions on Oasis, it's not slowing down. It's getting worse, and it's spreading through everyone here. After Paul's brutal death, the base turns openly hostile. People aren't whispering about visions anymore. They're furious, scared, ready to snap. Peter can feel whatever is happening on Oasis isn't just stress or bad sleep. Something is tugging at their minds. Alice can't stay quiet. She pulls Peter aside and admits Morgan left her a secret message, meant for Peter only if she truly trusted him, and only if Peter ever arrived. She plays the recording. At first it's Morgan's voice, fast and urgent. Then the audio shifts and a second voice cuts in. Unnatural, sharp, almost a shriek, repeating one phrase, Jesus Christ. Morgan tells Peter to listen, begs him to find him, and ends with the same Bible line Peter has already received twice. What I tell you in the dark, speak in the light. Vikram calls an official meeting. He announces Paul's death and calls it an accident. Nobody accepts it. They saw Paul reach out like he was hypnotized. The crew talks over Vikram, and the truth spills out. Almost everyone has been seeing things. BG says the planet is twisting their minds, and they were never meant to be here. Others admit they've seen people, shapes, voices, things too real to be simple hallucinations. Sai tries logic, pointing to the arrival warning. Dr. Severin mentioned pressure effects, vision problems, headaches, even hallucinations, but that excuse collapses. Dr. Severin breaks and admits those side effects were never the real story. Morgan ordered her to spread that cover after the first death to keep panic contained. The room erupts. Voices rise, blaming the company for dragging them to a graveyard world. Some demand a search for Morgan, others demand to go home, but nobody can agree on what home means anymore. Vikram has no answers, so he tightens control. Nobody leaves the building until further notice. Outside, drones hover like insects, and every corridor feels watched, making the lockdown feel more like a prison. Sarah notices Peter isn't even at the meeting. She goes looking and finds the next secret. With Alice's help, Peter gets into Morgan's room. The same Bible quote is written on the wall, but Peter realizes it's a clue. He switches the lights off, and a hidden map and coordinates appear, only visible in the dark. Now Peter gets it. Morgan didn't just wander off. Morgan left a trail. Peter grabs a rover and heads into the desert, following the coordinates like they're the only solid thing left. Sarah catches him, then admits the truth. She's been seeing Frida, her daughter, out in the dunes, and she wants to know why. Sarah lets Peter go. Later, when Vikram demands to know where Peter is, Sarah lies and says she has no idea. Vikram sends a transmission to Earth. Morgan missing, multiple deaths confirmed, emergency authority invoked, the colony locked down. He frames it as an unknown force causing accidents. His answer is simple: total control. Out in the desert, Peter spots a trail of black rocks arranged like a path. He follows it off route to a hidden cave. Inside is something impossible, hooded people, standing silently in the darkness like they've been waiting. One steps forward, removes the hood, and Peter's world stops. It's B, his wife, the woman he watched die on Earth, standing alive on an alien planet. That's where the pilot ends, turning everything Peter believed into a question mark. Quick heads up, Oasis was only a pilot episode, basically a test to see if it should become a full TV series. Amazon released it as part of its pilot season, where audience feedback and internal decisions determine which pilots get a full season order. Oasis was never picked up for more episodes, so the story ended right here, and no season 1 was produced. If future episodes had happened, they likely would have explained what's causing the visions, what Morgan discovered, and why the colony is falling apart. Peter would have followed those coordinates deeper, uncovered who the hooded people really are, and learned whether B is truly alive, or if the planet is creating copies from memory. The show was also based on a novel where the story expands into first contact territory and pushes Peter into a crisis of faith as everything he believes gets tested.